Hi there guys, I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech, and in this video I'll be unboxing this Samsung Galaxy A20 and sharing with you my initial impressions and a quick hands-on review of the A20 itself. So guys, here's the phone, and this looks awfully a lot similar to the Samsung Galaxy A10 box packaging or the overall design, with just a change in the number and how the phone looks. So here's the box. On the front it simply says A20, on the left side once again Samsung Galaxy A20. On the right side it's plain. At the top you just get a sticker about Indian SIM card. At the bottom we have IMEI numbers and other information. And finally on the back we have the most highlighting features, specifications, which I'll talk in a minute. Now with that said, let's quickly unbox this phone. By the way guys, this phone is sold only in one variant with 3GB of RAM and 32GB of storage. This phone is actually priced at 12,500 rupees, but in the retail market you can buy it for around 11,500 rupees or cheaper if you can negotiate further. Now this phone is available in three colors, blue, black and red, and we have the deep blue color with us right now. By the way guys, unlike the Samsung Galaxy M series, this phone, the A series, is a retail phone, so you can buy it anywhere in your regular retail store. And compared to the Samsung M20, specifications on this phone are slightly underpowered. Probably you might see much difference in camera performance as well, but there is a significant difference in performance for sure. So let's just unbox it. So guys, at the top we have a cardboard box just like the Samsung A10 packaging. It just has some documentation. There is no case included, just like with all the previous Samsung phones. So here's the documentation. We have the quick start guide, regional lock guide and warranty card information. Following that is the phone itself. Let me just... Okay. So next we have the phone itself in the blue color with dual camera setup. I'll come back to it in a minute. Going on next, we have a 15 watts per adapter. Yes, this phone, which is priced at just 12,000 rupees, supports fast charging and also comes with the fast charger inside the box. This is something I wish Xiaomi learns as well. Anyway, going on next, we have old style earbuds. They're not earbuds, they are earphones, and I'll just leave it there. Next we have the SIM card ejector and a Type-C charging port. Type-C charging cable. And this is again a pretty great thing for a Samsung phone that's just priced at 12,000 rupees. So these are all the contents of the box. As you can see, it does come with earphones, but they aren't that special or extraordinary. I'd suggest you to leave them in the box and get a better one. Anyway, coming back to the phone itself, here it is in plastic wrapping. Surprisingly, even this piece has no warning signature or IMEI numbers. I don't know why. So let's just open it up. So just like all the Samsung phones, it has stickers all around. Let me just remove that. So guys, this is the Samsung Galaxy A20 with all new super reflective glossy back. And for a quick comparison, this is the Samsung A10 with not so reflective back but the same plastic back panel with just single camera. While the A20 has a dual camera setup with a fingerprint scanner. So this is how the phone looks on the back and this is how it looks on the front. Pretty much a blank slate. Now let's have a quick physical overview and then check out the complete specifications. On the back, this phone has a plastic back panel with a fiberglass with super reflective coating, and it does look exactly like a mirror, and the blue color on it definitely looks pretty cool. Now with that said, at the top it is a dual camera setup with a 13 megapixel primary camera with f1.9 aperture, and that's followed by a 5 megapixel secondary ultra wide angle camera with f2.2 aperture and 123-degree field of view. Following that is a single LED flash, fingerprint scanner, Samsung branding, and at the bottom it is completely plain. Now on the front, this phone sports a 6.4-inch Infinity V display with the new water drop notch with a Super AMOLED panel with HD Plus resolution, 85% screen to body ratio with the new 19.5:9 aspect ratio. So even though this phone has a pretty massive screen, because of the smaller bezels all around and the new aspect ratio, phone fits pretty comfortably in a single hand and doesn't look all that big. Now with that said, inside the notch it has a 8 megapixel front facing camera with f2.2 aperture, and above that it has the earpiece. Now coming to the sides, on the right side it has a power and volume buttons made of plastic. They have a nice clicky feel to them, but I wish they were slightly more elevated. At the top it has a secondary microphone for noise cancellation. On the left side it has just a SIM card tray housing 2 nano SIM slots along with a dedicated SD card slot. Finally at the bottom we get the 3.5mm audio jack followed by Type-C charging port, primary microphone and the mono speaker. Now coming to the rest of the specifications, under the hood this phone sports an Exynos 7884 octa-core processor with Mali G71 MP2 GPU with 3GB of RAM and 32GB of storage. It will be running Samsung's new One UI based on Android 9.0, that's Android Pie. Now powering this device is a 4000 mAh battery that supports fast charging and also comes with a fast charger inside the box. Now considering all those specs and the massive 4000 mAh battery, this phone still has a thickness of 7.8 mm and weighs just 169 grams in the hand. Now for some very quick initial impressions just on the physical form factor. Phone fits pretty comfortably in a single hand. Yes, it has a massive display, but because of the new 19.5:9 aspect ratio, phone doesn't feel all that wide. In fact, it fits very comfortably in a single hand, especially if you have bigger hands like mine. And coming to the weight distribution has been done really well, and the phone itself weighs pretty less when compared to Redmi's counterparts with the same 4000 mAh battery. So overall, just from initial impressions, I am really loving this device, and it's really great to see a Samsung phone offer all this in such a small package. So guys, now let's turn on the phone and see what we get right out of the box. So that's the first boot, and in the first page itself or the first screen itself, it says Samsung Galaxy A20 powered by Knox. Secured by Knox and powered by Android. So that's the first boot and the first boot animation. Let me just fast forward a bit. So guys, this is the screen that you see after you set up Face Unlock feature, and among these settings I suggest you to disable the first option so that your phone will immediately unlock if you're using Face Unlock feature and you don't have to wait in the lock screen or swipe up the lock screen to actually enter the phone. Now the next option is for faster face recognition. Well, it's less secure, but Face Unlock works much faster. And finally we have the brighten screen, which simply brightens the screen in low lighting conditions for the Face Unlock to work. Now let's move on. So guys, this is how the phone looks once we turn it on. This is the new One UI and this is your default launcher, and you can swipe up to check out all the applications. Just from initial impressions, it looks like there isn't a lot of bloatware, but that's not true. It does come with a lot of useless applications or applications that you might never use. For example, Facebook, Netflix, or even Amazon, if you're one of those people. Anyway guys, this is the new One UI and everything is much bigger, much more easily usable with a single hand. This is the recent apps page. Obviously there are no apps running. So this is the look, and you can swipe down to access the toggles. You can swipe once to check out the notifications and have access to the quick toggles. Now you can swipe again to check out all the toggles, and you have all these toggles over here. Next you can swipe down using 2 fingers to directly go to the toggles page. So that's One UI. Now let's check out settings, storage information to be specific. So guys, out of that 32 gigabytes of space, you get about 21.7 gigabytes of space for your user apps and user data. And out of that 3 gigabytes of RAM, we get about 1.5 gigabytes of RAM free right out of the box. Now let's check out the about page. So guys, this phone is running a skinned version of Android called One UI version 1.1 based on Android 9.0, that's Android Pie. And finally, it has the latest February security patch. Now let's check out the camera interface. So guys, this is the camera interface, and this phone comes with a dual camera setup with a primary camera and a wide angle camera. So if you want to switch to wide angle camera, you have a toggle over here. So this is a wide angle camera and this is a normal camera. Now you can also do a pin gesture to zoom in and zoom out, and if you zoom it out more, you will switch to the wide angle camera instead. So that's a nice gesture. And like with all other Samsung phones, you can swipe left or right to change between different modes. We have video, we can record video in 1080p. And that's the maximum resolution. By the way guys, in the video recording mode, we can either record video using the primary camera, that's the 13 megapixel camera, or you can also record using the 5 megapixel ultra wide angle camera to get a much more wider footage. Now going on next, we have the live focus mode where we can change the amount of background blur effect we want before taking a picture and even after taking a picture. Next we have the regular pro mode and panorama mode. Now coming back to the front camera, this is the interface for the front camera, and as you can see, every time we switch between the front and rear cameras, there is a slight indication over here. So let's look at that once again. So there you go, that's the indication. So this is the interface for the front facing camera, nothing fancy going on. You have your regular video mode and live focus mode for taking portrait selfies on the front. And on this phone, we can also change the amount of background blur effect we want, even for selfies, before taking the picture. So there you go. Now these are some sample pictures. Now let's test the speaker loudness.
It's a tug of war, battling to keep my sanity. Say no more, say no, ties me. Now what do I do?
What's up everyone, I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech, and in this video I'll be showing you all the features offered by the Realme 3. By the way guys, I've already made a dedicated video for the tips and tricks section. Link for that is in the description. Definitely check it out. Now the first. So guys, speaker loudness on this phone is pretty good. It's not the loudest in the price segment, but it is definitely sufficient for your regular media consumption, ringtones and alarms. So there we go, speaker loudness, and now let's test out the face unlock feature. I've already set it up. Now let's see how good the face unlock feature works. Now this is a test in good lighting conditions with my eyes wide open. And it seems to be working pretty fast, but it's not super fast like the Oppo Vivo phones. Definitely not as fast as the Realme phones either. So face unlock on this phone works, but it's probably taking like half a second or a second to unlock the phone. It is definitely slower than most of the phones out there. Now let's test it in low lighting conditions. And it still works. Once again, it is slightly slower. I am clearly able to see the lock screen. Now let me just turn off all the lights and see if it works or not. Now all the lights are off. And it seems to be struggling, but it worked. So it's probably taking like 2 to 3 seconds or maybe more to unlock the phone. And now it was a bit faster. Slower, still trying, gave up. Okay, once again. Maybe in complete darkness, it depends on the lock screen wallpaper. If it has something bright, it works really well. And if it has something dark, it's taking a long time. So guys, that was face unlock feature. Now let's test the fingerprint scanner. But before that, let me just quickly register for that. And unlike on most phones on the Samsung A20, you have to swipe down or swipe on the fingerprint scanner to register it. That's a new thing and probably only Samsung does that. So here we go, swipe to add your fingerprint. So I can just do that to quickly add a lot of information in a single go. And it's already done. Now let's test it. Says it works. Now let's try unlocking the phone with the fingerprint scanner. So fingerprint scanner itself is pretty fast at reading the fingerprint, but the phone takes like a second to unlock the phone. And as I've said, fingerprint scanner itself is faster, but it doesn't have any kind of indication where the fingerprint scanner is. So if you're going to use your phone naked, you might have a hard time trying to trace out the fingerprint scanner, at least for the first few days. So here we go once again. It clearly takes like a second to unlock the phone, which is way slower than the current generation phones. So guys, this is the new Samsung Galaxy A20. Just from initial impressions, as of now, at least right out of the box, software experience has been pretty smooth. Well, I have been using phones with One UI and the bigger icons don't irritate me that much, but still it is pretty usable and pretty much usable single-handedly. Now, as I've told you earlier, entire form factor has been pretty great. Cameras also look decent, and this phone has an AMOLED display, so brightness levels, viewing angles, and most importantly, colors look damn good, especially the blacks are true blacks. So if you're someone who watches a lot of videos on this phone, then this phone is really going to be great. Now with that said, the only place where this phone falls short is performance. So if you're someone who wants a Samsung phone and want to buy it in a retail store, you can definitely give it a try. It is definitely a much better choice than the Samsung Galaxy A10 and a pretty good deal for a Samsung phone at 12,000 rupees. Now with that said, if you're really looking for the best phone around 12,000 rupees, I would suggest you to look at something like Asus Zenfone Max Pro M2 or Redmi Note 7 Honor 10 Lite, or even spend a little more and get the Realme 3 Pro or the Redmi Note 7 Pro. So guys, with all that said, what do you think about this phone? Do let us know by commenting below this video, and if you are planning to buy this phone, use the link in the description. It always helps the channel. If you want us to make any specific video, tweet out to us with the hashtag AskGreedyTech on Twitter and we will try to make it as soon as possible. I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech signing off. Silent Gunjesh.